Hello, I'm Lala Rimando. Welcome to Talk Thursday. Today, we'll talk about the country's booming real estate industry. It was a key contributor to the better than expected 7.1% growth in the third quarter. Are we seeing the making of a bubble, or is this boom sustainable? We have with us today Lindsay Orr. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Jones Lang LaSalle Lichu and has been analyzing the risks and opportunities in the market for the past 14 years. Lindsay, welcome to Talk Thursday.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
You've been covering the Philippine real estate industry for a total of 14 years now, on and off. You were here during the good days in the 90s, and you're back
during the good days as well.
Another era of good days. Tell us how, because our jump off point now is the contribution of the real estate industry to the surprising 7.1% growth rate of the Philippines.
Yes.
Should we be afraid? Should we be encouraged to buy real estate now?
Well, I think firstly we shouldn't be afraid at the moment. All the pointers are looking good and favourable. It's a little different to the Asian financial crisis, where a lot of the property building was more speculative, and consequently a bubble arose and burst, initially in Thailand, but it had the knock-on effect and came to the Philippines in 1998.
All right.
So that caused the bubble to burst, and then there was a rapid downward movement, and it took a long while, until about 2003 actually, for the market to get back on its feet again. And I think here we have a more sustained scenario with the good economic pointers and things that are going on around us.
Yes, the real estate industry grew double digits for the quarter, and it accounted for almost half of the services sector.
Yeah.
Tell us more about which areas of the real estate industry are booming.
Okay, well, the real driver up to now has been the BPO sector, but perhaps more topical when people talk about boom or bust and is there a bubble, is the residential sector. And everywhere you look, as you know, you see high-rise residential condos going up. But there is an end-user demand there. As you know, the remittances are coming in fast and furious. A lot of that money is being spent on condos. We have an increasing workforce employed in the BPO sector with a larger amount of spendable income. And these smaller units, these 25 square meter plus units, are quite affordable to the new middle manager class that's emerging. So
we'll get to the 25 square meters
okay.
of it. But we keep on hearing remittances and the BPOs as the two key factors for the boom that we're experiencing now.
Yeah.
And those two key factors are actually the ones that are making the boom sustainable, supposedly.
Yes.
Let's focus on remittances. How does the real estate industry, when did the real estate industry start feeling for Filipinos working abroad, start to invest in real estate properties in the Philippines?
Well, I don't think there's a precise time, but certainly for the past 10 years, as the number of overseas workers has risen to about 10 million.
We didn't see that in the 1990s.
No, we didn't, but it just became more topical. I think the more developers got into residential development, more on offer. A lot of developers took their products on road shows overseas to the US and Europe, captured the imagination, and at the end of the day, I guess everybody's desire is to own a piece of real estate, whether it's a house and lot or a condo somewhere.
Okay.
So
and
that fueled the demand.
What are they buying?
A combination of condominiums in the city and houses and lots out in the provinces. So both, really.
You mentioned 25 square meter units. Are the OFWs buying those 25 square meter units, or locals?
They're certainly contributing to it, because the remittances that they send back are some of them are being used to buy these small units.
Okay.
So perhaps family members are able to buy the units, or the overseas worker themselves. I mean, the idea of having a condo in the heart of the CBD, and if you're lucky enough, a small house and lot out in the province where the family live is probably not a bad idea.
Oh, it's an end. It's either a condo in the
if you're
city
if
and
you're-
a lot
I
and
think
a house in
that's
a...
an ideal scenario, isn't it?
Right.
It's,
But what's the actual scenario? What are they focusing on? Do they want a house and lot, or
Well,
are they going for
traditionally it's house and lots in the provincial
Okay.
areas, but I think over the last few years, condo living has become a more acceptable way of life. I mean, we've seen through some of the nasty flooding incidents of the last couple of years that living above the ground has its advantages, and perhaps substituting a larger area for a smaller unit. Living in a central area, you do away with that horrible commuting in traffic, which years ago people would readily commute 1.5 hours each way.
I remember the Vice President also saying that Filipinos abroad are buying condo units here because they eventually want to come back and retire here. Do you see that? Or is it just they're buying it for investment purposes for the future, or are they buying it for current use for their family now?
I think primarily for their current use or for their family's use. I think some also buy the units for their own use. When they come back once a year or whatever, they will perhaps go to stay with a family in the family home, but they like the idea of a small condo where they can maintain their independence. So I think
Okay.
there's a fair amount of that happening as well.
So are you trying to assure us that, with all of these high-rise condos coming up, skyscrapers, we shouldn't be afraid?
For the time being, no.
For the time being.
I think we're fairly secured. As I said, it's driven by end user demand. Prices haven't really escalated that dramatically. I think prices on average for condos have only gone up about 11 or 12% over the last 3 years. So that's not a dramatic increase. So that all adds to the sustainability. But of course, if they continue to be rolled out at an ever increasing rate, then sooner or later demand will outweigh supply. Sorry, supply will outweigh demand, and you will have the start of a worse situation.
They say that, I remember in your report you mentioned that we have enough supply-demand. I mean, the balance of the
Yeah.
supply-demand is okay until 2013, but we'll see more supply coming in 2014, 2015, and...
Yes. Well, there will be, but we feel that that the demand will still continue to match the supply, and as long as that happens, then everything's fine. If demand starts to tail off, then I guess some developers will put their projects on hold.
So this time is a good time to buy.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
While the supply is still
Yeah.
less than the demand.
Yes. Yeah. I would say so. In fact, it would have been better if you'd have bought a little while ago, because prices have gone up a bit.
Usually, what's a cycle like? Because now we have a 7.1% economic growth. So essentially, the prices are already in their mid-range. I mean, it has gone up a bit. Investors tend to want to position themselves before the boom.
Yes.
So how does the decision making go there? Do you like, if I'm an investor and looking at the real estate as an asset, I have to look at the supply and demand, look at the growth rate?
Yeah, but I think it's more end user driven. If you have a
Okay.
demand and a need and a requirement, the mindset is to let's buy now while
Yes.
the going's good, because it looks as though the prices are going to go up
Okay.
even more over the next 2 or 3 years. So let's not waste time. Let's do it now.
Oh, good. Let's move on to BPOs, the second key factor. We see a lot of BPO and residential. Let's mix that.
Yeah.
We see a lot of luxury residentials cropping up too, and they said it's the BPO executives which are grabbing them.
Not in the luxury sector. I think we
Okay.
need to categorize
Please educate us.
Yeah, the 1.5 million peso up to 10 million peso is called the mid-range, and 97% of developments over the last 9 years and over the forthcoming 5 or 6 years are in that sector. It's only 3% that are in the so-called luxury sector above 10 million. So most of those condo developments you see cropping up opposite the BPOs fall within the mid-range sector, where the majority would sell for prices between 1.5 and 3 million pesos.
1.5 to 3 million
Yes.
pesos.
And these are being occupied by the managers and the call center agents who obviously like the opportunity to live very close to where they work and cut out on the commuting.